Sam, congratulations on winning the Memorial Cup, pretty much winning everything you possibly could this season. If this was the end of your junior hockey career, I can't imagine you writing a better script on how it just completed.
Yeah, I think, everybody going out of the league especially looks for that, one final trophy that we were lucky enough to win this year as their kind of going out gift, I guess, to
Yeah.
to remember the league. And, we had a lot of guys obviously this year who that was the case for, which was so awesome to have. And if I'm lucky enough to be one of those guys, then again, like you said, kind of a perfect way to cap all this off.
I know you lost your captain at one point. You also lost an early playoff game that maybe set a tone for the rest of the playoff run. But I couldn't see much adversity in your group this season. Again, I'm following from afar, so I'm watching highlights and games and stats and as much as I can. Did I miss something? Did you guys have a hard time at all, or was this just a really good team that steamrolled its way all the way?
Yeah, I think it is a little bit of both. We obviously were quite the team. When
Yeah.
you think of the bottom, the players that we had, the depth and everything like that, the goaltending, the defense, the offense, kind of everything kind of seemed like it came together perfectly. So I think it is a part of that where we were just, that good and obviously had such a successful regular season and then the postseason and Memorial Cup as well. But, absolutely every team goes through little adversities. Every team's got to face things that, bring you together, bring you tighter. Maybe there wasn't a massive one for our team, but I think, when you just look through the year, everybody goes through their own things. The team goes through things, you go through a bit of a lull in the season. But yeah, I think, it really is just a little bit of a combination of both on that.
I know you're a great personality. I also know you're a humble guy, so I know this is going to be a difficult question for me to ask it like this, but Sam Dickinson's season, 77 games, 38 goals, 90 assists. I do the math, that's 128 points. You were only a plus 91, 91 this season. I can't even say that without laughing. But is there a certain part of either those stats that makes you the most proud or what your team did that makes you most proud? Like, what do you take away from the body of work?
Yeah, I think absolutely the first thing to come away from all of that is the team success that you look at this year. Obviously, we had so many guys have, fantastic individual seasons, and I was fortunate enough to be one of those guys. But, none of that stuff happens without the 55 win regular season, the 16-1 postseason, the Memorial Cup win. If none of that stuff happens, nobody's even got near the individual accolades that we were lucky enough to have our team kind of run through this year. So yeah, for me, it was always absolutely has always been, my first focus is on the teams. How many games are we going to win? Focusing every night on just winning that one game. So I think that's always been the big thing for me. And, over 3 years now, I've been lucky enough to play on three teams that almost reached 50 wins. And, I don't know many other players who can say that, in their 3 years in the league, they've been lucky enough to be a part of teams like I have. So, through my 3 seasons, it's always been the win total, I guess, is what I'd say is my favorite statistical number from the season.
I'll build on that and say that maybe for all the stats, they're impressive, but I think what you just said, I'll reiterate this, is learning how to win and learning how to be on winning teams. That might be the biggest thing you can carry to San Jose and whatever comes next, right?
Absolutely. Winning is a difficult thing wherever you are. It's the hardest thing to do in hockey. And, I've been fortunate enough for 3 years now
Yeah.
I'd like to say get pretty good at winning. And, I've been fortunate enough to do it a lot. So learning how to do that, learning what it takes, the little things, the sacrifices on and off the ice that come with that, I think is absolutely something that, will always be with me now that I've learned it here in such a fantastic organization that, builds a culture of winning and success and everything.
I'm going to ask you to take off your hockey player hat, put on your hockey pundit hat. So, like, pretend you're on TSN or Sportsnet or whatever, and give me the talk up on Casper Halton. And I mean, again, we know him, we watch him, but you've seen him like nobody else has seen him on the inside. What are the Sharks and what's the organization getting when they eventually get more of him?
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows the first thing that pops out at his game is the shot that he has. And,
Yeah.
I don't even really have to say much about it. It's once you get your eyes on it in person and in practice and all that stuff, you really appreciate it a lot more because you're like, I don't think I'll ever be able to shoot like that. So I'm lucky that he's doing that and on my team, and I don't have to worry about blocking that. But I mean, when you get to the personality of him, he's such a fun guy. I've been so lucky to, be with him now for 2 years, and ever since obviously we both ended up with the Sharks, we've become a lot closer, and really has become one of my closer friends on the team. So I mean, just a guy who loves having fun. He's always looking, to have fun. Always looking for a guy to play golf with, a guy to hang out with. So I mean, when you get that kind of guy along with the hockey player that he is, it's just a win-win on and off the ice for a guy.
Here's another unfair question of me to point your direction. Maybe it's more of a comment and I'll ask you to react to it. But when I see you, when I watch your game, I get a taste of your personality. I got to cover Brent Burns for a lot of years. You kind of remind me in a lot of ways, very early, of Brent Burns. Is that a good comp from what you know about Burnsy?
From what I've heard about him, that is absolutely, I feel, a great compliment to myself. Just, obviously the player that he is on the ice, but I think something that jumps out about him is the kind of guy that he is off the ice, such
Yeah.
a lighthearted, fun guy. So, I'd love to be able to bring that kind of energy into San Jose if I'm lucky enough.
You don't own any snakes or reptiles, though, do you?
That is one thing I'm not great with reptiles, so we'll stay away from those. That's for sure.
You also don't carry a big backpack of mystery that we never actually knew what was in that thing. Never mind. I'm getting too deep here on Burnsy, but no, to your point, I think it's a great compliment. I hope you have the longevity in playing that he's had. He's a guy that I feel like can do it forever. Back to focusing on your own hockey. What's the biggest step maybe that you think you took this season as a player?
I think it was just the completeness of my game and the consistency that I brought in and night out. I think there were times where over the last 2 years, sometimes my games would be really good, and then the next game's a little
Mhm.
a little dry, and then it's not as consistent. And one thing I really wanted to focus on this year was making sure that for 68 games, and then the playoffs and the Memorial Cup was that every night I was coming in and having that complete full game every single night with the consistency, to be able to do it as much as possible. So I think that was a huge one for me was, learning how to be consistent in my game night in and night out.
People out here are very excited to get you around the Sharks as soon as possible. I know you want that too. What are you most excited about in terms of eventually getting to being around San Jose? And what have you seen in the last year or so that kind of gets you motivated?
Yeah, I think the first thing that I always say when speaking about San Jose, and if I'm fortunate enough to play there, whenever it may be, is always the future and the young core that's been built there with the younger players already in place, and the excitement that's kind of living around San Jose right now, and Sharks hockey is so exciting. So to potentially be able to be a part of that is. That's the really exciting part, understanding that the pieces, really are there for a very successful organization, and the team to have a lot of success in the future with not only the players, but the front office, the coaches, everything is top tier in the NHL. So that's what I'd say is the most exciting part of all of it.
Sam, I met you right after the draft last year, or when you got drafted by the Sharks. I kind of instantly knew right then this guy is going to be something special. Like you could already start to see where it was going, personality, player, everything, the total package. So I'll leave it with this. Can't wait to see you at Dev Camp. Can't wait to hopefully see you a lot in San Jose sooner than later.
Thank you very much. I'm definitely looking forward to what's next.